Okay, so let's look at our second example of doing a sentence completion question. All right, so by now you already know the strategy for this question. You know that for the most part, this question will always go in order, which is very important to understand and know. This question will always go in order in terms of our sentence completion question. Not always, but probably most of the time. And we have to look at the question, look at the keywords of the question, find the sentence where those keywords are coming from, read that sentence, understand it, and then pick the answer choice that has a synonym language match. Okay? That's the challenge. Can you find, can you understand, can you pick a synonym match? So that's what we're looking at when we're talking about a sentence completion question. Okay? So let's take a look at it. This is test number 4, and this is actually from Cambridge IELTS Book 7. As I've told you before, I think the Cambridge books are the best books to practice from and to learn from. If I were you, I would definitely practice with books, probably starting with book no later than book 5 and working your way up to book number 10. But I think the books are the best books to use. I don't get paid by Cambridge. I'm just making my recommendation because they're the ones that helped design the IELTS exam. So they have the best material, and it's the material I use to teach. And you can practice along with me. And the strategies that I teach are based on the proper practice exams. And that's why they work on the real exam. Okay? And any good IELTS instructor or IELTS teacher will tell you the same thing. They're going to recommend these books that you use. All right? So let's take a look at our sentence completion question. That's a true, false, not given question, but we're not doing that right now. No, but this is actually a pretty good true, false, not given question. Okay, let's take a look at our sentence completion. Here we go. So we have 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26. All right. And here we have a lot of choices. A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K. A lot of choices. All right, a lot of choices. But, you know, here we have some good questions that we can use. Number 22 and 21 have the word biologist, which is going to be easy to find. 23 is also easy to find. Actually, all of these are pretty easy to find. They're not making it difficult. Marine Stewardship Council, MSC, that's going to be easy to find. Season Abundance-Based Management is going to be easy to find. Keep in mind, sometimes something to note is sometimes when you see like a number 23, Season Abundance-Based Management, in the reading passage, they'll have the acronym for it. So you might see something like SABM or something like that. So keep aware of that. Just like here you see Marine Stewardship Council. In the passage, you might see that, or you might just see MSC. All right, 25 is really easy because of 1999, and 26 because of because it has the year September 2000. So we should be able to find these. And like I told you before, in general, the sentence completion question will go in order. In general, it'll go in order. But you have to be aware that I have seen it sometimes not do that. So that's why I don't put this question in the category of always go in order. All right, so let's do it together. So first I'm going to look for something about biologists. Biologists and adult fish. And what I'm doing here, everyone, just so you know, I'm actually scanning through the passage, and I'm looking for information about biologists and adult fish. Oh, here we go. All right, biologists. All right, biologists. There we go. So this is where this is our starting point. Here, actually, here's MSC right here. So we can see that question also. Here's MSC right here. And so we can see that one. All right. And we see season abundance-based management. But that's not going to be that for that question, because this question is actually, I can see this question is actually going in order. Just from what I've seen so far is going in order. All right, so let's go ahead and take a look at the question. Like first question again, and then let's go through it together so I can help you out with understanding how to do a sentence completion question. Okay, so it says, in Alaska, biologists keep a check on adult fish. And then we need the rest of the sentence, right? That's what we're looking for. We're looking for the rest of the sentence. So we have to read this sentence where it's talking about biologists and checking, and then read that sentence, and then look at the answer choices down here and see which answer choice has the missing information from the rest of this sentence. All right, that's what we're looking for. All right, so this is how I really understand this question. Here we have the word biologist together, and then down here we have the word biologist also. So I'm going to assume that these first two sentences together are for that first sentence about biologists, and then this second sentence down, this third sentence with the word biologist, this is for the next question about biologists. All right, so there are biologists, I'm starting right here. In the second sentence, there are biologists throughout the state constantly monitoring adult fish as they show up to spawn. All right, so here we have our start. They're constantly monitoring adult fish as they show up to spawn. Spawn means get born. The biologists sit in streamside counting towers, study sonar, watch from aeroplanes, and talk to fishermen. All right, they're constantly monitoring adult fish as they show up to spawn. They sit in streamside counting towers, study sonar, and watch from airplanes to talk to fishermen. All right, so we have to find a match for that information. To recognize fisheries that care for the environment, no. To be successful, to stop fish from spawning, to set up environmental laws, to now a lot of students make the mistake and pick C because they see the word spawn, right? But C is a trap answer, right? Because that sentence says nothing about stopping them from spawning, right? If you look at it, it says nothing about stopping them from spawning. So that's the kind of question, that's the kind of answer choice that a lot of students pick and get it wrong. Because what they do is they say, ooh, there's the same word. I see the word spawn. I see the word spawn. I'm going to pick that answer. Don't fall for that trap. Okay? They set up those traps for students that don't know English. All right? Because students that don't know English pick the answers with the same words. It says they monitor adult fish as they show up to spawn. Okay? And they look at them through counting towers. So C is wrong, D is wrong. There's nothing about environmental laws. There's nothing about stopping people, nothing about labels. Here's G right here. To ensure that fish numbers are sufficient to permit fishing. Right, when you look at those two sentences together, it says that they're monitoring them as they spawn, and they're sitting in counting towers. Right, they're sitting in counting towers. So they're sitting up there and counting fish. They're counting fish. That's what they're doing, counting fish. So G is the synonym match for that particular answer. G is our correct answer there. Does everybody get it? Again, like for the previous question, you have to be able to pick a synonym match when you're doing this question. Have to. You have to pick a synonym match when you're doing it. All right? No question. Biologists have the authority. All right, so here's our other sentence with biologists. All right, so let's start at the beginning of the sentence with the fishermen know the approximate time of year when they will be allowed to fish. but on any given day, one or more field biologists in a particular area can put a halt to fishing. So this sentence says that biologists can put a halt to fishing. So we know this answer already. This correct answer is going to be, we saw it already when I went over it. They can stop people fishing for sport, right? They can put a halt to fishing. So the correct answer for 22 is E. Now 23, we see season abundance management. All right, but we're looking for a sentence that whole paragraph is about season abundance management, because those words season abundance management are in the first sentence of the paragraph. So that's what the entire paragraph is about. Okay, so when I'm looking for this question, when I'm looking for the matching sentence for this question, I'm not looking for season abundance management. All right, I'm looking for a sentence dealing with Alaskan salmon fisheries. Season abundance management has allowed Alaska salmon fisheries to do what? Does everybody understand that? Right? I'm not looking for season abundance management, because season abundance management, that's in the first sentence. I've already seen that the first two questions are going in order, right? But when you see this in the first sentence, that just means that this whole paragraph is about that topic, because the first sentence of a body paragraph is called a topic sentence. And a topic sentence explains what the paragraph is about, okay? So I'm looking, here we go, salmon fisheries, right there. Right, it's right here. You see at the end of the paragraph, Alaska salmon fisheries. This is my matching sentence. And then we can see the next question will come from the sentence that starts with MSC. All right, it is this management mechanism that has allowed Alaska salmon stocks and accordingly Alaska salmon fisheries to prosper. All right, and when it says this management mechanism, so that's talking about season abundance management. All right, so we have the language right there. And this management mechanism that has allowed Alaska salmon stocks and accordingly Alaska salmon fisheries to prosper, even as salmon populations in the rest of the United States are increasingly considered threatened or even endangered. So this management has allowed the Alaska fisheries to prosper, right? That's what it's done. It's allowed them to prosper. There's our answer right there. Be successful. To prosper is synonym for to be successful. Again, pick an answer with synonym language. Pick an answer with synonym language. That's the key thing for reading comprehension. That's the key thing for listening comprehension. You must pick an answer that uses synonym language. All right, so let's take a look at our next question, number 24. The Marine Stewardship Council was established. All right, established is synonym for created. What was it established for? All right, here's MSC, but here's the council. This is our sentence because of the word founded. Founded is a synonym for established. So I know this is our sentence that the answer is coming from. All right, the council, which was founded in 1996, certifies fisheries that meet high environmental standards, enabling them to use a label that recognizes their environmental responsibility. So that's what the council was created to do. Created, founded, established, all synonyms, right? So that's how I know this is the right sentence. It certifies fisheries that meet high environmental standards, enabling them to use a label that recognizes their environmental responsibility. All right, now D is a trap answer. Don't pick choice D. A lot of students pick choice D because they see the word environment and they get excited, but they said nothing about setting up environmental protection laws. That's not what it said, right? The correct answer is here. It was created to label their products using the MSC logo. That's why it was created. That's what that sentence says. That's what that sentence says. So the correct answer is choice D. I'm sorry, choice F. The correct answer is choice F. All right. So, now let's move on to number 25. Move on to number 25. As a result of the collapse of the salmon runs in 1999, the state decided. The state decided. All right, so we need a sentence that's talking about the state deciding something. And I know we have to start after here, where we see something about, here's the last sentence, here's the last question right here where we see 2000. And we're looking for a sentence talking about the state deciding something. Here we go, right here. The state reacted quickly, right? However, the state reacted quickly, closing down all fisheries. So that's what the state decided. Right here in this paragraph right here, it says, however, the state reacted quickly, closing down all fisheries, even those necessary for subsistence purposes. So that's what the state decided. When it says the state reacted quickly, that's the same as saying the state decided. So our correct answer is K, to close down all the fishery. Close down all the fisheries. All right, so you see the way it works? That's the way that you do a sentence completion question. All right, that's the way you do a sentence completion question. All right, so thanks a lot, and I hope you enjoy learning how to do that. I'll talk to you soon. Bye.